Yesterday, I discovered something that really shocked me about myself. What I discovered yesterday explains why sometimes I do the decisions that I do at the farm, and time again, you've always said to me, Ruwa, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I didn't know either. And I don't know why I do what I do until yesterday. Yesterday, I spoke to a gentleman by the name of James. He's one of our community members. He's one of the investors on Kumusha Investments. The conversation just started off unexpected, and before I knew it, it was 8 hours we were speaking. And while I'm speaking throughout this, I'm going to be laughing. I'm not laughing because it's funny, but it's because that's how I'm coping with the emotions, because I have to relive the emotions. And I'm also going to explain how this has affected me and how this has also helped me. So bear with me, because what I'm going to explain in this video may be the reason why you are also trying something in your life, but it's not working. You'll be very surprised. So this is one of those videos you want to watch from the beginning to the end. It's very, very important you watch this video. That's how you're going to get the real gist of what I'm trying to say. So I want to start way back from a child growing up. A lot of people that know me know that I'm driven. I'm a go-getter from a very young age. From a very, very young age. But the question is, why did I become a go-getter? A lot of people don't know that. Of course, I've shared this story with a few people. I've shared it also with James yesterday, which explains the whole thing. Without going into too much detail, my relationship with my dad was not the best. So I'm not saying this because I want to blame my dad or I want to put him down or whatever it is, because in African culture, and I'll speak to African culture and Zimbabweans, I don't want to speak about everybody else because I don't know. Okay, I want to speak about what I know. Sometimes our parents do certain things because they think those things are right. But it's because it's been carried on, it's been passed on from generation to generation to generation. And sometimes without actually fixing that thing that causes people to act and or react a certain way. I want to give you an example. In the Shona culture, you'll find that a man can be very abusive. But the woman is told, once you're married, you're not coming back home. So you know what happens in the end? She just soaks up everything because she can't let it out. Because obviously, what's the point? Because I can't go back home anyway. As a result, you end up getting trauma. So sometimes when that woman now reacts in certain ways, sometimes she doesn't even understand why she's reacting in that way, which is why I'm explaining why I'm explaining. So back to me now. My relationship with my dad was not the best, but I don't blame him for that. I blame the culture, but I don't even want to use the word blame because it is what it is. We are responsible for our reactions. Okay, so let me just make that very clear. We are responsible for our reactions. So I don't want to blame and then sit there. I'm not one of those people that blame. So because my relationship was not very good, there were certain words that were said to me that affected me. And those words made me start protecting myself from a very young age. I can even recall at the age of 5. And it was a constant reminder about those words. Primary school, high school, and so on. So it pushed me very hard to succeed in life. Academically, that is. Because I wanted to make sure that I protect myself. Because I knew I had no backbone. So, as I'm protecting myself, I get a job, I go to work, I start working, get married, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm a go-getter, you know? I work hard, I provide for my family, and I'm responsible. But there is something that you don't know about me. I have serious anger issues. And that also explains why I don't have any friends. I have very few friends. And those very few friends, one of them was my best friend. He passed on a few years ago. Those very few friends were people that I knew from childhood. Because I know if I make new friends and they disappoint me a certain way, I may blow the fuse and go crazy. So I avoid, that. And what has made me thrive in my business is the fact that I work on my own. I have my own business and I work on my own. So I don't have people I work with. So looking back now, after discussing with James about myself and him, and by the way, James is a CBT. What's the abbreviation again? Cognitive behavioral therapist. Yes. Okay. I needed to mention that because that's how you would know how he helped me. So I thrive when I'm working on my own, because if I work as a team, I may blow my fuse, and I know that. And that is why I prefer to work on my own, and I like my space. But here's the thing. When I decided to step out of something where I'm working by myself, I went on to Ruwa Organic. And that is where the problem started. I have the vision. I have the dream. I'm a creative person, by the way. I visualize things. Even this Kumusha investments, I visualize things in such a way that if I were to paint, you'll be surprised. But anyway, I digress. So with Ruwa Organic now, it's not my typical business where I'm working on my own in my business. I'm marketing. I'm doing everything with my other companies that I work with. It's different. Now I have workers, right? So it's a different type of business. And I didn't even realize this. So this new business now requires me to work with people. And guess where the problem starts? I have my vision. I tell my workers a vision. I assume they get it. But of course, they have their own what? They have their own vision. The trouble comes when something goes wrong. When something goes wrong, now I say to myself, okay, this is supposed to be the solution. Well, this is supposed to be the solution. Blah, 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 blah. It's straightforward. In my head, it's straightforward. Okay, if this is the problem, why can't you fix this? Why can't you do that? Why, right? I got to a point where I got angry. And then I had to, from the culture thing, suppress it. So I suppressed it. But while I'm suppressing it, it's still bothering me. So what happens now is I had no idea, and this is what I found out yesterday. James told me that sometimes you're doing what you're doing today. You can't explain it, but you keep doing the same thing. It's because you're operating on what? On fear. And I said, wow. Explain to me, because I thought my issue is anger. And he said anger is a result. But if you take a step back, where is it coming from? It's coming from fear. And what's the fear? The fear of not making it. Where did it start? When I was a child. So I wanted to deny it. But deep down, I had not connected the dots. So I'm operating on fear. This is a new thing now. Oh. And then he goes on to say, you see, that fear gave you a massive boost of energy. That is how you're able to become focused and you're able to achieve what you achieved. And in our discussion, there was something very interesting. In order for you to do something or achieve something, it's through a force. There has to be a force. So when there's force, you're driven to want to do something. When there's no force, you're laid back. That is why you find out that there are some people who are just lazy. They just want handouts. Give me, give me, give me. Right? No energy. Right? But when you have energy, you find that the person is trying, is doing this, is doing that, is thriving. But in a lot of times, a lot of these people that make it, they come from discomfort and pain. Think about it. Those people that make it, they come from discomfort and pain. And these are not James's words, by the way. These are my words in my observations. There are people that grew up in families where they have everything, right? They have everything. And then you ask yourself, why is it you have all these things but you couldn't make something out of your life? The force is very low. Low energy. And then you find someone that grew up in, if I mention a city, you're going to start saying, so are you saying people that grow up in that area are so messed up? Okay, I want you to imagine it. This person grows up in an area which is not affluent. But these are the guys who are making it in life. They are our lawyers, they are our engineers, you name it. Those people, in most of the time, in my observation, in my opinion, they come from a bit of discomfort and pain. That's where it comes from. So back to myself now. I started thinking a lot while we were speaking. And my body just had this experience where, like an inner body experience, I couldn't explain it. Because when I speak to people, I'm very skeptical. Because I know a lot of people just talk nonsense, even in the comments. A lot of people will just come with statements like, you won't be able to make this succeed. Okay, if I can't, explain why. So I tried to poke holes into what he was telling me, and I couldn't. Because what he was telling me was speaking to my heart. And then he went on deeper. The way you react? The way you react is fear. It's fear of losing that particular thing you are working on, because that's what you've been thriving on, fear. And when I understood this, I understood that even in the diaspora, we try very hard, but we're doing it wrong. You know why? Because we are patients. If we were not, we would be doing things a certain way. We get scammed. We go through so much because we are driven from pain. It's hard to work. We put in all this and then we get devastated. And then we get very upset, resentment and all of that. But it's coming from, we want to what? We want to succeed. And while I'm on that, we want to succeed. In fact, let me write it down here. Succeed, because I have a lot to tell you. Do you know we come from a culture that has generational trauma? Generational trauma. Some of you, myself included, there are statements that are re-emphasized as we grow up. Like, for example, karere mangwana kagukurerao. It's often said. But the reality is, my mom, my dad, for them to be seen as certain people in society, they have to have certain material things. They have to have a car. They have to have a house. So they're pushing you to go to school to achieve so that you can buy them those things so that they can be seen as somebody's in the society, because we live in a society of material things. You are a somebody if you have a car, you are somebody if you have a house. That's Zimbabwe, by the way. So everyone is competing. So it becomes a culture of what? Competition. So it puts the children under what? Under a lot of pressure to succeed. And what you are succeeding for is to make sure your parents look a certain way. I'm not saying every single person. I know some of you guys are going to come in the comments box and say, Ruwa Organic, my dad wasn't like that. I don't know you. I don't know your dad. Okay? I'm just generalizing here. So what happens now is, instead of you, the child, finishing university, starting your life, because it's hard to start a brand new life. You want to get married, you want to plan for your kids, you want to plan for their education and so on. Now you're forced to what? also cater for your what? For your parents, so that they are seen as what? A certain type of people in the community. If you don't, then you're in big trouble. You're going to end up getting credit cards to balance it, or you're going to be working like crazy, messing up your health, just to balance things so that you're doing stuff for yourself and for your parents. Because we live in a culture where there's a lot of competition. Even right now, I think I've mentioned this in a video before, that it doesn't make any sense for anyone to build a 6-bedroom house with 3 children. But eventually your children are going to grow up. They're going to live perhaps in Europe. Why would you need a massive house? Deep down, there is something that is triggering you to do that. But you don't know it yet. Just like what I found out. I didn't know I was operating on fear. I didn't know my reactions are based on fear. The fear of losing what I'm trying to work on. The fear of failing on what I'm trying to work on. So I become aggressive. So anyone who tries to cross that line to stop me from achieving, you become my enemy. I come up with an idea. I'm moving forward. You try to come and mess it all up. In my head, you become my enemy. I get very upset. I'm angry. So I'm saying all this because with Ruwa Organic, I keep on doing the same thing over and over again, which is very stupid as well. You guys can see it. I don't. And this is the problem. It's because what? I have issues. I'm a patient. So I can't see what is happening. But you guys can see it. Because I see it in the comments. You guys say, but Ruwa Organic, why? Just fire these people. Right? But I keep doing the same thing over and over again because I fear that if I get rid of them, I might get worse people to replace them, and then I'm not succeeding in what I'm trying to do. I didn't even realize that. I didn't even realize that's what I'm doing. There are so many things I could have fixed, but I say no. Sometimes I even stop from progressing the way I want to because I fear that if I do that, it's going to fail. The fear. So we discussed so many other things. A lot of it is very, very personal, which I don't want to discuss here. But this realization made me start looking at life differently. And that is, everyone has issues. But the one person that succeeds is the person that is able to control that force, that energy. In my case, that anger. If I can channel that anger into something positive, then I am going to multiply everything that I want to do because anger drains you. Imagine I want to be angry, but at that time, I'm able to tame it. And then that gives me power to then say, you know what? You guys, you 2 workers, you are crazy. You stand here. I want to do this. Now I'm intentional in what I want to do. I'm not reacting and I'm not fighting on the defense. I'm intentional, but I'm using that force because that force is being used in the what? In the right way. Oftentimes we are very emotional in what we do. We end up resenting people, relatives, because they've done something. But now I understand why sometimes they do what they do to me. Sometimes now I understand how they react. Because the discussion that I had yesterday, it opened up so much. I'm actually so happy that I even went through that conversation. I am really, really happy because I discovered a lot. And I believe that the discussion I had yesterday, this was self-realization. It's going to help me with this investment project we're working on. It's going to help me in my relationships. It's going to help me in any other things that I will need to do. Sometimes I would make life difficult for my kids, for my wife. Why? Because I'm projecting. I'm internalizing all this craziness, but I have to project it. But I'm projecting it to the wrong people. But that's my coping mechanism. So what I learned yesterday is, imagine a square and you're right in the middle. When you get angry, just remember that you're not supposed to touch the sides, because if you touch the sides of the square, you get electrocuted. That means you're controlling that energy, that anger. If you're able to control it, then you've won. And for me, that was my downfall. For some of you, you may remember when we started this investment project, something happened. Someone came into the way because they didn't want this to succeed. I don't know if you guys picked it up. I was very upset. And not only that, I gave up on the project. I said, nah, forget it. I'm not doing it. That was me running because of that fear that, hey, what if people try to come again and try and break something that I want to do? Because in my character, the way I've built my character is, if I decide to do something, I follow through. I get excitement when a project is finished. I'm an artist. Even at school, I used to draw. I used to be the best at school, and it's all creative. I love the idea that I start from a blank slate, I paint, and then now I have a final painting where I can show people, let's say, hey, look what I've done. So it's the same thing with this. We started from a blank piece of land or a blank project, and then we build on it. I find a lot of joy in that. And if some of you are artists, it's not, the satisfaction is not through financial. It's seeing a project, flourish, or seeing a project to the end. That's where you get the most satisfaction. So anyway, it was the fear that stopped me from wanting to do it again. And then I had a few people in the group, and one of them, I don't know if I should mention names, but anyway, the gentleman is from Canada, and he said to me, can you imagine, we had 600 people, but only 1 or 2 people tried to mess it up. And we were prepared to shut it all down because of 2 people. But what about the 598? And you know what? When you look at it from that point of view, you realize that that's stupid. Why would you stop moving forward because of 2 people? But it affected me so bad. I was so angry, so upset, that it affected my health. It really affected my health to a point where the stress triggered, my lower back pain. I could not believe it. Even the physiotherapist told me that. Look, stress can cause that back problem. I was shocked. It was extreme stress and extreme anger. I was bottling all up. But of course now I've come with different energy. It's different. I'm more intentional in what I want to do, and I know exactly what needs to be done. So why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because it's all going to come down to mindset. Okay? In order for you to be successful in what you're doing, it's up here. The story that you tell yourself is very important. Sometimes people see problems, but you need to reframe how you look at things. There are no problems. There are only challenges. Now, do you see that reframe? There are no problems. It's only challenges. There are only challenges. Now, when you start reframing this, problems are very difficult because they're more fixed. They're very negative. But a challenge is like, okay, there's a challenge. I can try and fix this. Let me get this solution, that solution, that solution. These two are different. In fact, if you want, do a quick definition of the difference between problems or challenges. Challenges actually give you a bit of an energy, to want to do something. So this is why you find there's 2 types of people. 2 of them go to Zimbabwe. One sees that we have an electricity problem. Remember I said problem. One of them says, we have an electricity problem here. This is ridiculous. The government should be doing something about this. The other guy says, oh, wow, Electricity is a challenge. How can I try and fix this? Guess what? He starts setting up a solar company. So we can debate all day, every day. The guy that's waiting for the government to fix things and the guy that's taking action, tomorrow you're going to sit down and say, how is John able to make so much money? Now he's driving this car. Now he has this house in Borodol. Now he's... Because you have a wrong mindset. Your mindset is focused on problems and having them solved by somebody else. I'm not saying that we should all keep quiet and not say anything about the issues that we're having. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about the mindset. Sometimes there can be a challenge, but you can't really resolve it single-handedly. But I'm just talking about the approach to look at things. You see, most people focus on pain. Pain. Whereas some people don't focus on the gains. They focus on the pain, but not on the what? On the gains. I'll give you another scenario. There is also a difference between someone that says, I want to make money, and the other one that says, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be poor, and I want to make money. Those two statements are different. In fact, without me explaining them, please comment in the box, what's the difference between the two? Try not to Google it. Okay, what's the difference between the two? I want to make money and I don't want to be poor. What's the difference? They may seem the same, but they're different. So in this self-realization, it was so overwhelming that when I woke up today, I woke up peaceful. Like a whole weight on my shoulder was lifted. So it's very important sometimes that we realize what the problem is before we continue to do the same mistake over and over again. Sometimes you don't even know why you're making that same mistake. Some of us, we get abused through that way. We need money for projects. You send it. They misuse it. After 2 months, we need money for projects. You send it again. After 3 months, we send money. We send it again. Why? That's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a change. That's insanity. That's crazy. That has to change. Something has to change for you to get different results. But some of us, we keep on doing the same thing, expecting what? Different results. And that's where you feel pain. You lash out. But there's a reason why you're doing that. For me, it's fear. What is your reason? What's your reason why some of your things aren't working? What's the reason? That's what I'm going to leave you with. This is very deep. I don't usually want to share these type of things, but because we are going into a massive project where we're going to be working together, I thought I would share this, get it off my chest and share this with you so that at least you understand why I make certain decisions. Why I make certain decisions. But the good thing now is this brother, I'm calling him a brother because, you know, when you give someone that amount of knowledge, it's unheard of. It's unheard of. And this is something that really made me come back and say, you know what? At least there's some Zimbabweans who are kind-hearted and who are willing to help others. Right now, I've got a few brothers. Again, I'm using the word brothers because when I use that brother, that word brother, it comes from a place of care. Okay? It comes from a place of care. Generally, I say Zimbabweans or Zimbos, but I'm talking about brother because it's coming from a place of caring. These guys I'm talking about, they saw what I'm doing at Ruwa Organic. And they personally say to me, look, let's have a chat. Here's how I'm doing at my farm. This is how I'm succeeding. This is how I'm doing my things. This is how I'm making them do my reports. This is how I'm making them accountable for this. And it's working. And this person is here in the UK with a project bigger than mine on the ground. And it's working. I also have another brother. He said to me, look, I know it's going to be tough. You need to get that money for the borehole. Let's find a borehole. He's using the word, let's find a good company that will do the survey. Let's find it. Now he's speaking like he's part of the project. Mr. Ruwa, don't do anything else. Don't do anything else. First, let's sort out the water issue. And he's speaking like it's like he's part of Ruwa Organic, but it's coming from a place of what? Of caring and wanting good for me. James from yesterday. It's a lot of hours we spent, but he's doing it because what? He wants to help me. He can see that there's something that I need help with. So that is what gives me the drive to have trust in Zimbabweans. I cut off Zimbabweans from 2004 until I made Ruwa Organic. The reason why I'm talking to you right now is because of my Ruwa Organic channel. I cut off Zimbabweans because of how they treated me and all of that. I cut them off. But what I've realized now is not every Zimbabwean is messed up. Amongst that, there are people there, but we just haven't discovered them. And I've discovered them because of this channel. So all I'm saying is there are a few people amongst us who are genuine and willing to help. And this is why I think Kumusha Investments is going to be successful too. I believe that 100%. If I didn't believe that, I would not be a part of this. Definitely not. So have some self-evaluation. Think about what I've said. Take some time to think about why you do certain things, why you react. Because it could be that you're dealing with trauma. It could be that's holding us back. So I want to end this video by saying, yes, you can comment, but also be sensitive, because what I shared with you is very sensitive. I didn't have to share this with you, but I feel that a lot of you on my channel are very positive people, except a few, and you are people that contemplate and think about and care. That is my channel I'm talking about. I see the comments. Very, very good. Very caring people, very encouraging. So just learn from what I've discussed here. And perhaps maybe you are having the same problem that I'm having. So get some help. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you want to be a part of the Kumusha Investments, the link to that is in the video description below. We have a waiting list, but very soon I'll be giving more instructions on what we need to do moving forward. Thank you very much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.